And that's it. That is the finished project, and I do hope that you've enjoyed it, and if so, then I'd be absolutely thrilled if you would give this video a like, or even subscribe to my channel. You know, why not be a devil? I will be back again soon with another project for you, but for now, thank you very much for joining me, and I do hope I'll see you again soon. Bye bye. These are the supplies that I'm using for this project. I'm using Animal Expedition DSP, and I cut 3 squares in this pattern, 6 by 6 inches, 3 squares 6 by 6 inches in this pattern, and I've also used this pattern as well. I've got Calypso Coral card and a basic grey card, and I cut 3 scant 3-inch squares out of the Calypso Coral and 3 scant 3-inch squares out of the Smoky Slate, and I've also used it for some other bits, some punching and some smaller squares as well. We'll talk about them when we get to them. I used the Animal Outing Clear Mount Stamp Set. I got this for free at our On Stage, which is our Stampin' Up demonstrators, I don't know, get-together, training event, conference, whatever you want to call it. And this was one of the gifts that you got as you went through the door. It's definitely worth being a Stampin' Up demonstrator, so you can go to things like that. Okay, but it's a lovely stamp set anyway. And I used Memento Tuxedo Black and Calypso Coral to stamp with. I used 3 punches. Now, if you prefer dies, that's entirely up to you. I used a 2 1/4 inch circle punch, a starburst punch, and a 2-inch circle punch. And I also used the large letters thin nuts. So that the finished frame won't have any creasing on the back of it. So that my finished, this is, okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this is the side that I want showing when I finish my finish the frame, and so that it won't have any creases or anything showing on the back of it when it's finished. What I have done, I have taken a ruler and a pen, and I have drawn diagonal lines from corner to corner, and I'm going to use those to measure on, whereas if it was a normal origami project, I would have just folded it corner to corner and corner to corner, but that would have left creases onto the front. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take that point and I'm going to fold it up to where those diagonal lines cross, and I'm just going to burnish my fold, and I'm going to do the same thing for the other 3 corners. So now if I turn that over to the right side, you can see I've got something that looks like that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this point here where my diagonals meet, and I'm going to take that up to the place where my pen lines meet. So I'm just folding that into the middle. Again on that side, you can see it looks a bit like that. So at this edge here, as you can see, I've got a little square, and I'm going to fold that in half. So I'm just folding that flap over. Alright, so now I have that shape, and this is my wrong side, and now I'm going to take my triangle, you see, and I'm going to pop it on top of the one underneath. And if I need to, I'm going to adjust my paper slightly because paper stretches, and sometimes you need to coax it a little bit. Okay. So that is my little frame, and I've got my square of basic grey card, which is a scant 3 inches. Okay. And I pop that in, and I can lock that into place. Now, if you're making this for a photo album, then you would pop your photo in there, but you need to be aware that it's this bit, this central bit, that's going to show. So if you've got anything going on in these corners here, they are not going to show. So that's one, and I need to go away and make a pile more, and some of them are going to be this way round, and some of them are going to be the basic grey with the Calypso coral in the middle. And through the magic of video, I now have 6 of my little frames, and I'm going to join them together to make my little book. Now, I can do these in a number of ways. I want to keep the repeating pattern of Calypso coral, basic grey, Calypso coral, basic grey, and so on. But I could do them like that. And if I do that, I probably wouldn't have that one. I'd only have the 5. So that way, I'd have my picture and my journaling, and my picture and my journaling, and my picture and my journaling. Yeah. So are you with me so far? Or I can do them the way that I've put them out here, so that you know, you've got your picture on one side, and then you'd have to look on the back for the journaling. And I think I'm going to make mine up and down anyway. So yeah, that is the way that I'm going to work. So I've cut half a dozen of these little 1.5 inch squares of basic grey, and these are going to be my hinges. So they're going to fit like that. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting my liquid adhesive onto the back of 1/2, and then I'm going to fold it over the side of my frame and bring in my next one. I've used my large letters to cut out the word hello from the sort of giraffe skin kind of themed paper, and I'm just going to put that into my booklet with a little bit of liquid adhesive. Okay, so I'm just trying to get that fairly central. and I just carry on doing the rest of them. And of course you can cut out any word you choose with the larger letters because you get a full alphabet. And the only suggestion I would make is that if you want your book to have a front and back cover, you need to use an even number of letters, or like I'm doing, fill it in with a punctuation mark or a symbol. Oops. And now this is just going to need a little bit of time for the glue. This is the paper that I cut my letters out of, but if I flip it over, on the other side you've got all of these lovely animal characters, and I've fallen in love with this little guy over here, this sloth or sleuth. Not quite sure how it's pronounced. So I've got a 2-inch circle punch, and I'm just going to chop him out. Now there isn't a stamp for this particular little chap, so in this particular case I've kind of had to punch out from the paper, but the rhinoceros and the kangaroo and the giraffe and that little frog sitting on a branch there, they are all also in the stamp set. Okay, but you do get the rhino reversed and the kangaroo reversed. So if you wanted to, you could absolutely, you could stamp these out if you were going to use those characters or the giraffe. You could totally stamp those out, and you could colour them in. But today I haven't got time. Okay, so this is. I'm going to use my envelope punch board to make the little box for the for my origami booklet, and I work on a very flexible table. It's actually a picnic table that's covered with wood effect wallpaper. So that means that when I put any kind of downward pressure onto it, it's very flexible and it will bounce. And because the tripod sits directly on the table, that means that the camera will shake. So I'm just warning you here and now that there's going to be a little bit of camera shake. I've put a thick stamp pad underneath the punch. Hopefully that will kind of, damp the bounce down a bit. I don't know. I've never tried this before. All right. So I measured my little origami booklet, and I've worked out that I needed a container that was going to be for like 3¼ inches by 3¼ inches by 3/4 of an inch deep, and that will allow me lots and lots of room to be able to reach in and put the book in and out. Okay, you don't want it too tight because then you're trying to force things. So I cut myself a piece of card, and this is Calypso Coral, to 6½ inches square, and I got the measurements from a website called The Crafty Owl. Now I'm going to put the link in the information box below, the description box I should say. So if you want to go there and find out how to calculate an envelope or a box for the size of item that you particularly need, she's got it all worked out for you. Okay, so she told me that I needed a piece of paper or card that was 6½ inches square, and I've stamped all over this with the little, I don't know what that is, a little frog I suppose, sitting on the branch of the tree, and I used Calypso Coral ink. So I've gone ahead and done that ahead of time, so it's had plenty of time to dry. I did try doing the same thing in Versamark, but it didn't show up enough, so I went with the tone on tone. Okay, so 6½ inches square piece of paper. and Crafty Owl tells me I need to make my first punch and score at 2 3/4 of an inch. So here we go. Okay, so I've punched, and I'm going to take my scoring tool. You can use your own bone folder if you prefer, but this comes with the punch, so why not? And then the next one is at 3 7/8 of an inch. And again, punch and score. Alright, so now from now on in, I don't have to measure. All I need to do is to line up this little pointer thing with the score line and punch and score. And I'm going to work my way around the box, going punch and score. So the other side of the punch, this edge, is a corner rounder. So all I have to do now I am finished with my my envelope punch board, and I'm just going to bring in my snips, and I'm just going to cut away just to free. Just cut away that bit because I don't really need to, but it just tidies it up a bit. Just makes it look a little bit better. Okay. Alright, that's the shape I'm left with. And now I'm just going to burnish the folds. Now I'm just going to seal this up with a bit of tape. So I'm going to seal this up with a bit of fast fuse. And this has been retired, discontinued. So it's a little bit naughty using it, but I do like it. I do like it a lot. So I've got some onto those two flaps there, and I'm going to put some along this flap like this. Okay, and if you haven't got fast fuse, if you didn't stock up on it before it all went away, then you can use liquid adhesive, you can use tape, or you could just use some snail, because it's not going to get a huge amount of which way do I want it? I want it that way, I think that's how I like it. Okay, I'm punching out a circle of my basic grey. So now I'm going to stick this little creature onto my circle of basic grey, my starburst I should say of basic grey. Okay, and he can sit on there just like that. And now if I bring in the box that I made earlier, and let's hang him just sitting onto the front there so that he just covers up that that join. I'm going to stamp my sentiment "Wild About You" onto the giraffe hide DSP. Okay, and I'm going to come in a little bit because I want to punch this out in just a moment or two. So I'm using Memento ink, and I'm just holding my stamp on the paper just for a few seconds to give the ink time to transfer. And that way I get a lovely clear impression. So 2-inch circle punch, come in from the side, and I'm just going to kind of get that reasonably centered and punch it out. And now this is going to go on to my Calypso Coral Starburst. Okay, just like that. And that is going to sit onto, that's going to be the cover of my box. So let's make sure I've got this the right way up. So I want it to be, yeah. So when it's in the box, it's going to be like that, so that you're going to open it up like that. So that's going to work. It's a bit of liquid adhesive, and I could use a dimensional at this point, but I'm not going to because I want this to fit nicely inside the box. It's nearly finished. I just want to add a couple of finishing touches. I have one of my 1.5-inch scored and folded squares left over, and I stamped out another sentiment onto the giraffe paper, and I've punched out a starburst of Calypso Coral, and this is a 2.25-inch circle of basic grey. And I'm going to use this on my back cover. So I'm going to start by applying my adhesive into the hinge piece. Okay, so I'm just going to slide that in there, and try and get it centered. It's going to be difficult to decide which of these pieces I'm going to use for my thumbnail. And let me see. Yeah, I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive onto the point of the triangle there. Fold that over, and I'm going to try to more or less centre the basic grey circle onto there. So when I open my book, that's going to hang down like a medal at the bottom. And finally, my little piece of Calypso Coral with my sentiment stamped onto it. And there you go. So now that will all fold up. And that's going to be the sentiment. So it opens right up. We have the sentiment at the bottom. And that's it. That is the finished project, and I do hope that you've enjoyed it. And if so, then I'd be absolutely thrilled if you would give this video a like, or even subscribe to my channel. You know, why not be a devil? I will be back again soon with another project for you, but for now, thank you very much for joining me, and I do hope I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.